Hello, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club for part 3 of our Trident cluster rocket build. We are basically ready to mostly put this thing together. In the meantime, this bit here has dried. I actually reinforced it. I put an extra bit of glue around the tubes here um, because, well, it needs it. This actually needs to go into this cavity, and if it's not super strong, then it could shear off when I'm trying to put it in there, which would be bad. Before I do that, though, I need to connect the shock cord, which is this red elastic business, to the leader here, which is that Kevlar thread. Now, the instructions here actually show me exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be tying this kind of knot. I don't have a whole lot of familiarity with knots, but fortunately, this has a very nice description. It says I'm going to tie a single parallel overhand knot from both ends. Okay, well, I can probably make a knot look like that. I'm just going to get these two cords together, and I'm supposed to tie it approximately an inch from the end. So, okay, I can handle that. It's actually kind of hard to work with these two very different threads simultaneously, but it shouldn't be too bad. I just have to get them both through the same loop. And that'll do it. And all I need to do is pull it tight. There. That's nice and tight. I might consider putting a dab of crazy glue in this just to hold it. But for now, it's probably pretty good. Just pull on it this way to make sure it's strong that way too. All right, fantastic. Now, once I've done that, it's time to connect the motor mount, which is actually, I mean, this whole thing is a motor mount, but obviously the motor is only going to be like this far in it. Part of this, a lot of this is going to be exposed, and it goes inside of this. So before I even do this, I need to thread the shock cord through here, and notice it has a hole. This is to vent some exhaust. So in the cord goes, and I'm just going to test fit this first to make sure that I don't have to do any like trimming or anything like that. So the wooden bulkhead goes in quite easily, and then I'm just going to kind of spin it around to get the rest of things in. That looks pretty good. All right, I need to disassemble this, of course, to actually put some glue in here. I'm actually going to completely unthread it for now. I need glue, but before I need to do that, it says, the instructions say that I need to make a mark, not on this, but on this. It says 2 inches from the edge, from the edge of the tube or from the bulkhead. And I'm going to do that on each one. So I've got plenty of accuracy here, because if it's, I could have it not be straight if I wasn't very careful. There we go. And one more. Oops. There. Okay, so this is going to slide in, not that one. Let's just get rid of that so I don't confuse it. This is going to go in there to the 2-inch mark, and then most of this is going to be sticking out the back. Now I need to make sure the hole goes the other direction, and I'm going to put some glue inside here. It says just put glue inside, so I'm not going to use my dowel. I'm just going to put a bead of glue in here, and it'll probably help with my, there we go. Glue wasn't clogged from last time. No problem. And there's the bead of glue. I'm putting it, I don't know, like somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 an inch in there, because that's about all the farther my glue bottle will fit, at least for now. And that's probably enough glue. All right, now I'm going to carefully drop, well, it's not going to be all that careful, frankly. I'm going to drop my shock cord through, trying not to get the glue on it if I can help it, but we do what we can. And now we're going to put it on for real. So the wood part wasn't a problem. Since I wasn't 100% accurate with the tubes, they do protrude a little bit. And now I'm going to twist this thing so that it stops right around that 2-inch line that I've drawn. Okay. That has deformed the body tube here just a little bit. I think that was probably unavoidable. All right, and it says, place and roll on a flat surface to ensure the motor tubes are straight and in line with the sustainer airframe and it's not warped. Seems pretty good. Seems to be rolling reasonably well. All right, so this is basically done for now. Fins are going to go down here, but we're probably not going to get to that in this video. We have some other construction to do, so I'm just going to put that aside for the moment. Now, we were working on this business here, which is part of the payload. So the way this is ultimately going to fit together is this part is going to get glued in anyway. Nose cone up here, and then this part, if you want to use it as a payload, we can. The nose cone we don't have to permanently attach. In fact, the instructions don't call to do that at all. So we could put something in there, an altimeter perhaps, or just something fun to launch up. Or we could just glue it shut. That's great too. I'm probably going to not glue it shut, at least for now. So in any event, this thing is done, and that's great. But we need to actually measure and attach it. So if you recall last time, we were supposed to put a mark here at 1 1/4, so we only had an inch here. The reason for that, by the way, is that if I had more than an inch, it would cover up the exhaust hole, and that would be bad. We don't want that. So, fantastic. We need to actually attach this. This is fairly straightforward too. We're just going to put glue inside. This doesn't have a preferred direction, doesn't have any holes in it. So we are just going to put a little bit of glue on the inside, just like we did with the last section. And then we are going to put the bulkhead part in. So again, ooh boy, it's really flowing now. I'm actually going to spread that out because that was a surprising amount of glue. Surprisingly large. In fact, I kind of want less than that. But we'll spread it out, and that'll be better. I took some of it off as well. So, and it goes up to the line. Okay. That's in good shape. So I'm just going to measure this to make sure, although I suppose the smarter thing to do would not be to measure, but just put them next to each other and make sure that the hole is sufficiently far down. And it is. There's like 1/4 of an inch there. So this will not cover the hole. Great. This part then is good to just dry. There's nothing more to do with it. Eventually, we need to attach it, but that's not going to be for a while. All right, I guess we will actually have time to do the fins in this episode. The next part says we are going to be working with the bottom motor mount here, and it says we need 1/4 of an inch mark on each of the fins in the crevices in between, and that's where we are going to end up putting the fins. So we are essentially just marking off so we know where to end up putting things. Now I want the mark as close to the crevice as I can get, but of course it's hard to see in that crevice. So I'm actually going to mark it on both sides, I think, just because it's nice to have marks on both sides. All right, there we go. Continuing on. And we do want to be careful about this because we want the fins to all be essentially at the same distance from the edge of the rocket. If they weren't at the same edge, they would be off-centered and they would mess up the flight characteristics. So we do need to actually be careful about this one. This is not one that we want to just eyeball and say, oh, good enough. So marks, marks, marks. All right, there's the last one. Okay, now if you recall, we had to bevel the fins. That is to say, instead of have it be a flat surface like we normally do for the root, we had it as a 45-degree angle. And as such, it's going to go right in like this. This is going to give us more contact, because if it was just a flat surface, only the edges, the corners would be fitting in. Since it's beveled, It might not be a perfect fit, oops, but there'll be more contact between the glue, wood, and the body tubes. So we'll do our usual business. This is going to be a little bit different because we have a beveled surface instead of a flat one, but it's not a particularly large surface. So truth is, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference for at least our purposes of applying the glue. I am going to check as I'm spreading the glue out here that I have it on both sides pretty evenly, and I'm not like puddling the glue on one side or the other. I can see, looking at it here, that I have a bit on the near edge to me versus, it's not quite even. That's okay. That looks better. As usual, we're going to do the 2 layers of glue. And, we got to wait 30 seconds or so in between. That's super fun. I'm only going to glue one of these on here too. There is, unfortunately, not in these directions a measurement guide to help you make sure that they are pointed in the right direction. But given that it's in the crevice in these things, it should be pretty easy to see if it's where it ought to be, one would hope, at any rate. All right, second bit of glue. I'm going to go a whole lot lighter because apparently the glue is just like racing out of my glue bottle today. Now that I've cleaned that little clog. This is a ton of glue. Way more than I want. There we go. All right, time to attach. Make sure that it's pointing in the right direction. It should be like this. And I want the tail edge, so that's what I'm going to be lining it up with the lines that I drew. And just pushing it down into the gap. Hold it for a little bit. I feel like this actually has a lot of purchase right now. I'm getting pretty good contact. Still, I'm going to hold it for 30 seconds or so before I mess with it to see how well aligned it is. Obviously, I need to do this 3 times for all the fins, but I'm not going to do all that on camera. While I'm looking at this, the other thing we're going to do in this video is we're going to attach the launch lug. Now, the launch lug needs to go on this part up here, and it says it should go 0.3 inches or 8 millimeters. This is made by Canadians, so they were probably measuring in millimeters. In any event, a third of an or 0.3 of an inch away from the edge, and of course we want to make sure that it is not lined up with the one of the fins. So we're going to try to do it dead in the middle of one of the engine's mounts. All right, let's see how we did. You probably have already been looking down here. Let's see how accurate it is. I am going to look at it now, and I would say, it looks pretty good. I can see, looking down the barrel at this, you probably can't see that at all. But in any event, there is a good amount of space in there. So eventually I'm going to put fillets probably in here, but definitely along the edge, both edges of the fins. That's going to be kind of a tricky sell, but it won't be too bad. Anyway, since we're here, I'm not really going to measure 0.3 inches. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to do that with a ruler one way or the other. So let's just kind of eyeball it. Let's say that'll be about here, I guess. So we want the launch lug on that. I'm probably going to go use the door jamb to draw a line down this to make sure that it's straight, because I don't want to just completely eyeball it. At least it's horizontal alignment. No, it's vertical alignment with the rest of the rocket. Anyway, that part you don't really need to see me do either, because it's just gluing something on. And I've got another 2 fins to be attaching anyway. So that pretty much covers the build. We will have all the fins and the body part work done here. This part is essentially done. The nose cone doesn't need any work. So yeah, it's time to move on to finishing. So that will be probably what we're going to do in the next episode. I will actually show you how I do the finishing or the filling of the grain. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about too much with the basswood here. But that's what's coming up next. I will see you then.